voted favorably. Members, next we will hear from Representative Geller on HB 1265. Representative Geller, you are recognized to present the bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, members. I'm sure there will be a lot of happy people this week since I'm very hoarse. And can't say too much. But this is a simple bill. This amends 102.166. The language is shown on the second page. Last year, effective January 1st of this year, we amended this statute to allow what are called ballot images to be used in recounts. The modern equipment that's used in our sense ballots, every county uses them, whether it's ES, is introduced automatically whenever the votes are counted. And last year we authorized those ballot images, which are what they use principally to do the counting from. They make images as the ballots are read through. And we authorized the use of the ballot images in recounts. For some reason in that bill, we did not include the requirement that the ballot images themselves be saved for 22 months as required by federal law for federal elections. So this simply closes what I consider to be a glitch. It requires that those ballot images be retained for the 22-month period and that they be made available in case there is a recount. And that is the bill, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Representative Geller. Members, are there questions? Representative Gully, you recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Rep, sounds like you're a little under the weather. I hope you're feeling better. So help me out with this. So currently, the ballot of record is a paper ballot in the state of Florida. Is that accurate? Or is that what you're trying to fix?
You're recognized.
I have to answer that yes and no, because there is a hybrid. The images are made automatically. It is the images that are actually used for the counting. They're made, you can't submit the ballot without it automatically making a copy on the machine. The paper ballots must be retained by law, and if there is any question, if it goes to a manual recount, a hand recount, then you always have the paper ballots available. So this state has a paper trail. That's why our votes are verifiable. But the ballot images themselves are simultaneous and they're useful. In 2018, there were a few counties that misplaced some of their paper ballots, couldn't find where they put them. So if you have the simultaneously made ballot images, it can help you look at those, and if you really cannot locate some ballots that are, I don't know, under a rock or wherever they are, you can look at the ballot images and use those to determine how you got to that first set of numbers, and they're exact copies that are made. I mean, literally the machine has a setting that says retain copies or overwrite. And all you have to do is hit retain copies. So that's why there's no significant cost impact. But yes, the paper ballots are the ultimate record, but these are also helpful if some paper ballots get up and go high.
Any additional questions? Ranking Member Davis, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. And Rep. Geller, so what you're saying for clarification purposes, the ballot images are captured by the type of equipment that the county is using. Whether they're using equipment from ES&S or Dominion, the ballot images are already being captured. Is that what you're saying? Thank you.
Are there any other questions for the bill sponsor? Seeing none, we have public testimony. David Ramba, Florida Supervisor of Elections, is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. David Ramba on behalf of the Florida Supervisor of Elections. This seems like a simple bill, but we're here to strongly oppose it. While this bill on its face seems fairly innocuous, I'm here to tell you the real story of how this would slow the recount process. This is for recounts only. There is no automatic setting to save these under the ES&S system. Under the Dominion setting, it does save it. Under the ES&S system, we have to turn it on and provide additional memory. Every time you tabulate, and this is what it's kind of difficult to understand. Every time you tabulate a vote, the machine displays for a nanosecond a digital image of the ballot, and the tabulation machine reads that digital image, and then it's automatically discarded in the ES&S machines. If you paid a bunch of extra money and saved the image, similar to a setting you can do in the ES&S system, it would require a redo of a lot of those machines because they don't have the memory for that specific action. If you look at the 2018 governor's race, where we had 3 statewide recounts, and we had 4,855,000 vote by mail ballots. If you take that, it only adds 1 second to do that additional saving of the image versus the paper ballot. You have 2,250 hours of tabulating time currently for that ballot. If you're from Miami-Dade, you realize they just barely made it by bringing in extra equipment. That extra equipment did not have the memory requirements of this. A few supervisors, as Senator Geller, or Representative Geller, Plaintiff Geller, he's also the plaintiff on this case, where he has personally, or as a representative, sued 9 supervisors of elections to maintain this record. So he's the plaintiff, he's the co-counsel, and now the representative. I don't know how we're supposed to, and his brother's was a senator and a mayor, so we've got everybody covered here. But to be clear, the original paper ballot is the public record. This additional savings, additional cost, has no real value because it's essentially a draft of a public record. We don't believe this is necessary. We believe this lawsuit will be dismissed. We don't believe the legislature needs to change it through legislative action when it's sitting in the judiciary at this time. And I'd be happy to answer any questions, Madam Chair.
You recognize Chair Golian.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Ramba, just for clarification, this bill would mandate the capture of images, but not all of these images are captured in all 67 counties. Accurate statement?
You recognize.
Absolutely, Chair Angolia, that is an accurate statement.
Follow up.
Follow up.
So would all of the other counties have to either change and or upgrade their software systems in order to accommodate for this?
You recognize.
Thank you, Madam Chair. They would have to buy additional memory saving equipment and have the system set up. The system is certified to save those. The capacity is not there in many systems across the state to do that exact function.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes, you recognize Representative Byrd.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Ramba. And this is a bill I worked on with the supervisors last year. And correct me if I'm wrong, but we allowed the software to be used in auditing and for recount. So we allowed counties to do that, but we didn't mandate it. If this bill would mandate it, which would require purchasing new items, and I think last year once again, one of the issues was that the paper ballot is the best ballot. We actually is the best evidence. We put an amendment on the bill stating that. Is that correct?
You recognize.
Thank you, Representative Byrd. There are 2 different systems we're talking about here. Last year, when we talked about the clear ballot system, that does have a record and it automatically saves it, and that's essentially used as your filing system. So that's a saved record, and it can tell you which box you go to. What we're talking about is the actual tabulation machine, similar to like your copy machine today. Your copy machine, in the old days, you used to scan across and do all these things. Nowadays, it takes an instant image of it, puts it on another piece of paper, and shoots it out. That instant image is what this would capture. Now, your copy machine, the regular ES&S machines, don't have the capacity to save all that. And there's no real value to that because you actually have the base public record that's still in existence. And so, while the clear ballot machine has that, we're talking about that instantaneous picture in order to count the ballot for a tabulation machine, which is a totally different system that a lot of supervisors do not have in their office.
Nice.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Ramba, with these ballot images, will they be saved by the SOE offices or will they be mandated to be released, to be viewed, or something like that?
Madam Chair. Well, in this legislation, they would be saved for 22 months and be a public record and available for review, just like any other paper ballot would be when that's allowed. Would put it on the same level of paper ballots. And we don't really, we don't have any problem with the paper ballot being the record. We encourage that. That's one of our priorities. This is actually the exact opposite of priority number 5 on our list this year, which says the paper ballot should be the final record. You do the logistic and accuracy test. You do that audit after the fact. And in fact, the manual recount we did in 2018 is like the ultimate audit. We recounted them all, every single one of them. And so all those are in effect, but that nanosecond of a capture is just an additional delay in the tabulation. It takes longer to tabulate the ES&S machines. It takes more memory to save all this, and we don't believe it has any value to the action at all with the audits and the LNA testing and the review that we do on the current paper ballots.
Representative Ngoli, you're recognized.
Thank you for the indulgence, Madam Chair. Mr. Rambo, the bill presenter said that there has to be ballots saved because of federal retention to the 22-month standard. Does that standard include ballot images, so are we already saving them, or would this be an extra layer on top of that?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Madam Chair, Chair Angolia, if you create an image for the purpose of making a decision, you are required to save that image. Under the tabulation machine scenario, we're not creating that image for the purposes of creating a record. It's simply being created for the tabulation, then is immediately cleared on the ES&S machines. So that's something that the paper ballot is saved for 22 months. The image, if it's not created for posterity, does not have to be saved. And that's the subject of a current piece of litigation.
Seeing none, thank you, Mr. Rambo. I would like to remind you, though, especially as we have another bill coming up, that if we can keep the comments away from the representative's personal motives for bringing forward any legislation, I would appreciate that consideration in the future.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
It was not the intent. Thank you.
Members, we are in debate on the bill. Representative Byrd, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chairwoman Grohl. A lot of times, and Representative Geller, you and I haven't had a chance to talk about this yet, and a lot of times when we say that, we'll say, well, I'll vote up today just to move it along, and then we'll have the conversation. But I think in light of what happened in the last year, and anytime we're going to vote on a bill or a piece of legislation that can impact voting and the requirements, I think we have to be extra cautious. And so I'm going to be down today because the bill that this would change or would impact was my bill last year, and I just want to make sure that I understand completely what you're trying to do. But I wanted to tell you why, so that we'll have that conversation moving forward. But I will be down today. Thank you.
Any other members in debate? Ranking Member Davis, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. I love that comment when we say you're going to be down on the bill, but we usually vote on it to pass it along. So I am not going to be down on the bill. I'm going to support it today because just as another bill that's coming up, we are required to save things for 22 months, whether it's a ballot image or paper image. And so we'll talk about that a little bit later. But I'm going to support the bill today to move it along. And I will say to my colleague to have the conversations with the stakeholders to put this in a better stance. I don't know where this is going to fall, but I will be supporting this today.
Representative Ngoli, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is different. I get to address you on a bill that I don't necessarily have all the information on, but I'm going to show you the same respect that you show a lot of us when we're presenting bills and you don't necessarily like everything in the bill, or you have questions, you move the bill along. I do have concerns. I'd like to help get those concerns alleviated, but showing you the same respect that you show us, that I'm going to vote yes and move this along, and hopefully we can resolve some of my concerns going forward.
Any other members in debate? Representative Tant, you're recognized.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. Representative Geller, I really appreciate you're bringing this bill. My supervisor of elections has concerns about the bill, so I'm going to want to continue to work with you as you go forward with this bill. I'm going to go up on today with the plan to work. So I want to make sure that we do that together. So I just wanted to make that point to you, especially since my supervisor is here, and I wanted to hear me say, I am going to continue to work on this bill. Thank you.
Seeing no other members in debate, Representative Geller, you are recognized to close.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And for today, I won't waive. Say, by the way, that I'm a little confused by the prior referencing some body that to be the record that word I just saw it in any sense there. There were some very interesting questions, and I do want to work with all of you about it. I have to say that in hindsight, the favorable staff report was a little bit, I may have relied a little too much on the fact that the staff viewed it favorably. These images, Chair Ngolia, are created automatically. There is no additional equipment required to create them. There may be some circumstances where an extra memory stick is required, but the big machines in the big counties all have enough memory to capture these, except under very narrow circumstances. 32 counties do this, as Chair Bird points out. There are some that don't. There are a few large urban counties that don't. 32 do it voluntarily. But be clear that the paper ballots are retained. They are the principal source, but sometimes, as happened in 2018, several thousand of them were lost. This is a check. It is there to make sure that the public has complete confidence and accuracy, which is something I know all of us want. So recognizing I've got some work to do here, and that is abundantly clear to me, I do ask you to vote to move this along to its next committee stop and see if we can resolve these issues. And with that, I close. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Having closed on his bill, Sanjay, will you please call the roll on HB 1265?
Chair Grawl,
Yes.
Vice Chair Roach,
Yes.
Democrat Ranking Member Davis,
Yes.
Representatives Brannon,
Yes.
Byrd,
No.
Casello,
Yes.
Clemens,
Yes.
Duggan,
Yes.
Ingoglia,
Yes.
Killebrew,
Yes.
Coster,
Yes.
Perez, Sivers, excused, Smith,
Yes.
Stevenson, excused, Tant,
Yes.
Thompson, Valdez,
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Bill passes.
Thank you, Sanjay. Members, by your vote, HB 1265 will be reported favorably. Thank you, Representative Geller.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, members.
Members, we will now hear